Good morning, Brutal Planet. We are here live with you early today. It's 10 a.m. Well, it's almost 10 a.m. here in California. And we're live on YouTube, we're live on Rumble, and we're live on Facebook. So we are simulcasting if you haven't noticed yet. And today we got a guest coming in that I've been looking forward to talking to. His name is Morten Toft Hansen from the band Asinhell. And if you don't know much about Asinhell, let me give you kind of a quick overview. It features Michael Poulsen from the band Volbeat, the Danish band Volbeat. And Poulsen formed a death metal band called Dominus back in the 90s. And so when he was putting together songs for a Volbeat record, the most recent one, Servant of the Mind, he wrote a bunch of death riffs and saved them on his phone. And then when he's done with the Volbeat record, he kind of started putting together for this song for the death metal band, and it's called As in Hell. And they have an album coming out called Impi Ora, which is Latin for ungodly hour. And it's out September 29th. They're on Metal Blade, and they have a single out called Follow the Loyal Warrior that is shreds, if you haven't heard it yet. So we got Morten coming on here in about 5 minutes to talk about the band and what their plans are and all that. And then as a side note, Poulsen doesn't sing. So they've got ex-Morgoth vocalist Mark Grew on vocals. So this is a all-star project, and it's heavy as shit. I listened to they only have 3 songs up so far, and they're all great. Fall of the Loyal Warrior is the one that they put out a video for. So if you're surfing around on the tubes, on the YouTubes, check that out. Anyway, there's I don't have a ton of news items to touch on today, but there's a bunch of new stuff coming out. I was just reading about how Motley Crue is working on new material with John Five on guitar, since Mick Mars is no longer in the band. And Bruce Dickinson just announced a new solo record. So that's interesting, especially considering how active Maiden has been recently. And then our friend CJ Pierce from Drowning Pool, he kind of hinted at this when he was on with us a while back, but they have a bunch of new material coming out. And then, of course, we got just yesterday, the new record by Kill Devil Hill came out, Seas of Oblivion. So check that out. Interesting of them to do a Wednesday release rather than a Friday release. That's the new thing. I remember albums used to come out on Tuesdays. Do you remember that? Maybe I'm dating myself there, but back during the, back when people bought physical copies of records, it came out on Tuesdays. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Am I misremembering things? I don't think so. But when streaming stuff took off, it really got to the point where why am I got this backwards. Yeah. When the streaming stuff took off, it became Friday. So now it's New Music Friday instead of New Music Tuesday. But I'll have to ask Mark why Kill Devil Hill decided to put their record out on a Wednesday. That's an interesting date to release it. So we've done a lot of great interviews this week so far. If you didn't catch, yesterday I talked to Sin Corinne, who used to be in Ministry. He has a new record coming out with his new band called Siglos. and they play their first show actually in October at the LA Gates of Metal Festival, and all the lyrics are in Spanish, which is cool. Sin actually being an LA native, born on the east side of Los Angeles, and it looks like Morton's about to join us, so let's go ahead and bring him in.
Hello.
Morton, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Are you in Denmark right now?
Absolutely. I was trying to log on through my laptop, but I don't know. I haven't tried this stuff before, so I'm on my phone now. Is
Oh,
it all
that's
right?
fine. Whatever works for you, man. We just started using this software recently called StreamYard,
Yeah,
and the reason for it is because we can broadcast to different channels. So we used to only go live on YouTube, but now we go to Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble at the same time. So we have a much larger audience that way.
of course. Sounds good.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Hey, I love
Chuck
your shirt too.
Schuldner, the
Yeah,
OG. The
it's gonna,
OG.
it's gonna keep an eye on you.
I like it. I like it. Chuck Schuldner, a lot of people don't know this, was one of the first, probably the first guy to do all scream vocals in music. At least that's what Wikipedia says.
I don't know, but it was first time I got into it was when ah, what was it, 92 or something?
Yeah, they
Um, I don't. The human record was it
human.
human, and yeah, I just love death. That's it.
I mean, the guy is a G, and he's one of the first. Again, he's such an Death is such an influential band. So they were all that extreme music. A lot of the extreme music in the U.S. anyway started in Florida. I don't.
I know,
There's
I
something
know.
going on there.
Yeah, and I was once in Mexico and Yucatan half island, and when we flew back to Denmark, crossing the Florida, I was like looking from the airplane, seeing the nice beach area and this, and I was like, okay, why was this awesome death metal starting here?
Yeah, I don't.
But
So Florida's like much like California. It's got different landscapes, right? Because they do have the beach of Miami, but then they
yeah,
also have the swamps, like the dark
I
swamps.
I
Where
saw that. Yeah, I know, and I don't know. I've never been there. I was in the US a few times, but I have to go there because you know it's awesome.
Cannibal Corpse is from there.
Yeah, yeah.
All the big guys. So let's talk
What?
about your.
Very nice to
Go
meet
ahead.
you. So
You as well. You as well. Let's talk about your career, man. Because I kind of introed the band a little bit. As in Hell is a new project with Michael Paulson of Volbeat. But let's
yeah,
talk about your career because you were in another band before this called Raunchy. Is that right?
yeah, and I'm still in that band. It's like uh, uh, I've been in this band for I think since '95.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not like
You're not done.
newcomers. No,
You're
yeah,
just
but you know we haven't done shit for a long time, and we actually recorded a new album that just has to get mixed. But we've been in this game for a long time, and instead of like, yeah, it's not going the way we want to do, we quit. We just keep it on a low profile. So we some of us met when we were 6 years old in the
oh wow.
first like kindergarten class.
It's a
So
long time friends.
me and Jesper, we've known each other since 6 years old, and now we are like 45 and 46. So that's a long time.
Yeah. A lot of jams in that time.
Yeah,
What's the scene like in Denmark? What's the music scene like there?
I think it's
at the
pretty
moment?
pretty strong and pretty diverse, from pop to metal to whatever. You have to think of that we're only like 6 millions,
Mm-hmm.
so we're doing good. We have a lot of talents, I think. So besides that, as I'm getting older, I don't really know what's going on because, I'm also this guy who was, even when I was 11 years old, I was laughing at my friend's older brother wearing an Iron Maiden shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck? He's old school, and now I'm wearing an Iron Maiden shirt myself. So, so
I
I don't really. I think the older you get, the more you go back in time to dig into vintage music. For me, at least. Not that I don't like the new stuff. I like the new stuff, but I have to say honestly that I don't follow what's going on.
yeah.
I'm busy with other stuff.
It's hard to follow what's going on now too, because like when I was younger, we had Headbangers Ball, we had.
Exactly, and we would like record and watch these shows on the VHS tapes like a fucking million times with Biohazard or Fear Factory or Sepultura or
Yep.
whatever, and it was like, oh whoa, and this thing that there was an interview or something was such a big thing. Not only the live stuff, because back then there wasn't so much access to the live stuff. So
Right.
this I totally remember, and I didn't even have the access to the MTV. But my friend had. So
Yeah, I used to go to my grandmother's house and like low key because my parents were like, "Oh, you can't watch MTV because it's got like." At that time, it was like Hot for Teacher and like those kind of videos where people are like, "Oh, that's." Even watching that video today, I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty. That's a pretty risky video for
yeah,
by today's standards." But it's we don't have the luxury of like back then. It was kind of like Ricky Rackman was like, "Oh, here's a bunch of cool metal bands to check out." And now it's
yeah,
kind of like there's so much stuff coming out. You have to kind of like really go
yeah.
like dig for it.
It's so much and so much shit sounding the same that you kind of like an. I don't consider myself old, but like an older person, I fucking give up. Like I don't want to get too influenced by shit that's already been done by the originals.
Yeah, yeah. There is a lot of that. There is a
Yeah,
lot of that. Those bands that just sound like exactly like another band. Where you're like, wait a minute, have I
yeah.
heard this before?
The best example is I'm a huge Fate No More fan,
Me too.
and I was there when they were live and bought their albums, and then they kind of like split up, and they came back, and I think there was like a break more than 10 years. And when they came back, they kicked ass on everything that was there in between those 10 years. Like, just an example of, if you write some good, solid stuff, you know, you can copy, you can do whatever you want, but they just showed that they were the best when they came back. And
It
the
stands the test of
material
time.
was fucking awesome, and it worked live. And I was like, in those 10 years they were gone, no one surprised with anything.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
like they never left.
Yeah. Cheers.
I'm having some morning tea.
Yeah, I'm sure. Can I check that there's no whiskey or vodka in that mug?
No alcohol for me. I do have a little bit of the good California marijuana here, though. That I'm
Oh, okay. We all have our habits.
Yeah, for me, this is better than drinking because
Yeah.
a lot of people will say, "Oh, it'll mess up your lungs or whatever." But I'm a pretty frequent runner. I exercise quite a bit, so it's in moderation. Like I don't smoke like giant cigar filled blunts all day. I have this little cigarette pipe that I kind of hit out of, you
But
know.
you know what? The best is when you never asked about an opinion and people start talking about why they do stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was really just trying to push back against the accusation of alcohol being in my coffee. So I was like, well, I
Yeah,
got other drugs here, you know.
whatever.
So the drumming on the As in Hell stuff is incredible, man. I only heard the 3 tracks that y'all have on
You only heard the
Spotify.
three? I thought you heard the whole album.
I do have a screener of the whole album, but I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I just listen. When I'm in my car is where I have the good speakers and stuff, so I really listen
Yeah,
closely to.
it sounds like you have family and a busy job or something.
Well, I have family, but they're metalheads too.
Yeah, yeah.
My son
That-
is a guitar player himself.
awesome. I'm just saying it because I listen mainly to music when I'm in my car myself.
Yeah, I do have a family. I am busy though, and do have a family, as you can
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
relate to. But I also like the way, like, if I get a streamer from someone, it's harder to listen to it in the car, and so I'm going to listen to the whole thing, but I wouldn't lie and say that I did when I didn't
yeah,
yet. But I just like the sound in the car better. You know, it
yeah.
it's where I experience most of my music. So
I totally hear you. I'm the same because nowadays with car speakers, especially I have a car where I actually have 12 speakers with a, I think it's called Cantoon, like a
mhm.
really fucking awesome sounding system. You can't do that in a room with, like putting up all these speakers. So it's really, really awesome.
Yeah,
So I understand what you mean.
you get the best experience, the
Yeah,
best full spectrum of sound in the car.
yeah, yeah.
So who would you say are some of your influences as far as drummers go? Because the drumming on this stuff is amazing. It's
First of all, I forgot to say thank you. Well, not very many know, but I've been in raunchy for many years, which is a totally different genre. But I was actually drumming in a thrash metal band, a little bit death metal band called Hate Sphere,
mhm.
and
Hate Sphere?
yeah, I was
Oh wow.
that when they released their first album, the drummer kind of like quit when they had to play live, and I met up with the band. I moved to this town where they lived, and they tried out, I don't know, a lot of drummers and ended up picking me, and I did all the live shows, and then their best album, Blood Red Hatred, is me drumming on that one. And back then, since I was a child, I always wanted to do this kind of like Slayer Testament stuff, and the stuff we were doing in Raunchy was kind of more like modern stuff,
Mhm.
influenced by what was going on in the 90s, the Corn and Fear Factory stuff. So when I joined Hatesphere, I kind of like, yeah, they just, I got all this Dave Lombardo stuff going on. Dave McLean, back then, I was a huge fan of him when he joined Machine Head after Chris
Mhm.
Contos. And my I wa- I always wanted to mix this thrash metal with the groovy stuff, like Dave McLean brought into Machine Head, and then I did a lot of touring with them. Actually, we did the first. I saw your Mastodon poster. The first
Mhm.
European Mastodon tour was with um, the Haunted, and
Oh,
then
Haunted's
Haze.
great.
Yeah, yeah, we were huge the Haunted fans because back then the Haunted was kind of like the European Slayer. They made the Haunted made me do it, and we came with Hate Fear, Blood Red Hatred, and then someone put Mastodon on, so we did a whole month, like 30 shows in a month, and I just got fed up with the whole thing because I also educated myself to become a civil engineer, and this thing with pay to play and a lot of work and no income.
Yeah.
I had to say, okay, guys, I gotta leave. I need to pay my bills, and I can't do this. And yeah, but back then I was already influenced by stuff like Death and also Obituary and a Danish band called Post,
Mm-hmm.
which back in the 90s did some fucking phenomenal groovy stuff, and Bolt Thrower and stuff like that. So
Bolt
yeah,
Thrower. Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I love that shit, but I never got to play it. So then we fast forward, like, I would say more than 25 years, and my good friend Michael, whom I knew through a raunchy and some touring with Danish bands, actually Hatesphere, which I left,
Mm-hmm.
and Volbeat and Raunchy did a European tour called Danish Dynamite in 2007. And for me, it was kind of like, oh, it can be awesome or it can be a little bit weird, because I left Hatesphere and I remember there was some bad vibes about why are you leaving and this and that. But it ended up being the most awesome Danish tour with three metal bands in history, as far as I know. And I've always been a fan of Volbeat, especially the early albums. And Michael is the fucking most best friend you can have, and just an honest, down to earth guy. But then Volbeat took off, and we didn't talk so much. And I moved to this town in the South Island of Sealand. And one day I recognize him. I'm at work, and I see this guy with these fucking ugly tattoos. And I see, and hey man, Michael, what are you doing here? And we started talking together, and we meet up one day, and then I tell him that, hey, my wife is pregnant, and he says, hey, my wife is pregnant too. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have a girl. And he says, we're gonna have a girl too. And yeah, awesome. And let's see if they will have fun together. And after a while, yeah, when you have a baby, it takes time, or you don't
Yeah.
have time for much else than your work and stuff like that. And then one day we meet up on a playground. I don't remember why, and we started meeting up because the girls are having fun together. And after those times where we're going to the playground, the two girls say, hey, let's go back and play at my house. And that was my daughter saying that. So we end up going to my property, and the girls are having fun. And I have this garage, if you want to see.
Sure.
I'm sitting in the bedroom now. Over here in this room, you see it?
Mm-hmm.
There is a like house that's not um, connected to this house, which is kind of like the main reason why I bought this house back in time. That I saw this man cave where I could have my fucking dream come true. My '90s room with my drums and posters of Metallica and Slayer and stuff like that,
I love it.
which which I'm not done with, but I have the big Cliff Burton poster behind my drum kit. And then one day we go in there, and I said, "Hey, you want a coffee?" And he saw my drum kit and stuff like that, and he calls me a year ago, and that's like our daughters are 6 years old now, so we've been hanging out. Just he has Volbeat, I have my daily job, and then he says, "Hey, look, Morten, there's something I want to talk to you before we meet up at my birthday party," which was like like a boys' party. I said, "We need to talk about this before we get hammered." And every time we meet, we always talk about human and individual thought patterns and symbolic and obituary and bell throw, and we sit there headbanging at the last ones in the bar, And I saw your drum kit. I have this dream that I want to do this death metal band. Do you wanna before we meet up and get hammered, I want to ask you if you wanna lay down some drums on it. And I said, yeah, sure, now why not? And I said, but there are no hard feelings. If let's try it out. If it doesn't work, just tell me. I have everything I need where I am now, a family and stuff like that. So we're getting some old turds, so let's have fun. If it doesn't work, if we're not connecting, then we will still be good friends. And he said, yeah, but I'm coming out next Friday, and I want it to be like the old school way, like when we were 15 in the rehearsal room. And I was almost saying, yeah, then I gotta cover the windows because I actually have a rehearsal room with a fucking window, which is like first class compared to a basement or something. So he came out there, and actually, I honestly haven't played drums for a year because I recorded this raunchy album like 2 years ago. I'm not really good at rehearsing fucking every day or once per week if there's nothing to rehearse for. So I was pretty rusty, and we got through it, and yeah, it went all right. And from there, we just pretty fast, got 9 songs together. That we're not so picky about the details, but we kind of think the same ways, and I also have plenty years of experience with arrangements, which I can't write a riff, but I can tell, hey, let's put this part and that together, and this is too much, or let's do this again, or let's go back to this, So I think we do a great team. I love Michael. He's one of my best friends, and he came there, and he's fucking productive like a machine. We made the songs fast. We went to the studio, recorded everything very fast. Actually, we are getting up early in the morning every day, both of us. So I remember we started 7:30 in the morning with the drums, and normally nobody starts before 9 or 10 a.m. here in Denmark. So when I was done with one song at 8:10, I asked Jacob, our producer, I have to ask you, isn't this kind of like a record in the metal scene that there's a track done at 8:10 a.m.? And yeah, it is. It is the record because we normally start earliest at 9, and then we drink coffee for half an hour. So, but so we're like, if we wanted this entombed 90s vibe, that if you feel that it's all right but not perfect, but you had fun, then keep it. We don't want it to be perfect because we know all these bedroom YouTube bands where their mom and dad are fucking cooking and paying the bills. so they can practice and correct everything with beat detective and shit. You know, we can't top that. We cannot play the 250 BPMs for an hour. So it is what it is. It's not fast, but we wanted to capture this vibe of the 90s where where you couldn't cheat with all these Pro Tools things. So I said, as we really told Jacob, our producer, that please don't fuck up the drum sound and make it perfect. Please don't fuck up the bass or the guitar. We want this raw sound, that like a first take sound.
We guys got it. I also think that there's definitely people are kind of craving that now because I was talking with someone about this the other day. Music is now, like especially metal, is too overproduced. Like you're just saying, it's too glossy. It's too
It was
perfect.
it was already overproduced in the zeros like 2006 and 7. I
Hmm.
remember with Ronzi going to Jacob's studio, and back then you got this metal hammer or something with a CD, and you could put the CD in the player, and the bass drum sound was the same. You know,
On every band.
um, what is it called? Not trigger, but sound replacement. You know, on
Samples.
every fucking band, and everything was beaten to death with the beat detective, so that you were like, is there anybody playing here or what? Because it all sounds the same. And I told Michael, I'm gonna use my old Tama, which is like 30 years old, from when stuff was good, not made in China or Korea. It was made in the US or in Germany or Japan. So nothing sounds better than those vintage drums, which I kept. I have an endorsement, and they might gonna be mad about that, but I didn't use it because I have this kit that sounds so much better. And I said to Jacob, please, 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 no, don't overproduce this. I don't want any triggers. I don't want. I want the sound from the room, and the same with Michael's guitar sound. You know. So I think Asinhell is started like friendship between me and Michael, and of course Mark, which is one of Michael's old school friends. I didn't knew Mark when this band came together, but I love Mark today, and he's a perfect match, and he's such a pro man. He just nailed it in the studio, you know. And you can hear and you can see when you interview me or someone else or watch the videos that we have fun with this. And the main rule is it has to be fun, otherwise it cannot get good. And I can tell you, you know, with Michael's background and my background, from not from music but from work, we do this only to do something that we love, and we don't care about you know, like radio plays or whatever, because it's we want it to be old school death metal.
Well, that comes through. The vibe comes through, and that's a good philosophy to have too. I mean, no one ever gets anywhere by trying to be something they're not. So
Totally.
I have a question for you that I have to ask. Since you're Danish, obviously Lars Ulrich, one of the biggest metal drummers in history. What is your like? How do you feel about Lars? Does Denmark, like, is he a hero in Denmark?
First of all, it's a tough question. I gotta say that I definitely think that he's a hero. My favorite album of all time is Master of Puppets.
Definitely one of mine
I
too.
joined with and Justice for All. I was 11, 12 years old. So back then, when you were 11 or 12, 1 year is a big thing. So
Yeah.
So getting and Justice for All, and you figure out that there's an album that's 2 years old. It's like, what the fuck? It's old as fuck, you know. But it's not like that anymore when you're 40 something. But
Yeah.
I
The
think
year's not
that
quite as long.
Lars, you cannot take out that Lars is in the 80s, especially with especially Master of Puppets and Justice. He wrote this start stop thing with the bass drums
Yeah.
that everybody
Started doing.
perfectionized, and yeah, to be honest, yeah, he he became a businessman, and he's not practicing like the guy from Gojira anymore, and he's not in that league, but he's still out there doing what he does, and he's not fucking giving up how much bashing he gets. As a Dane, I'm proud of him. I know that he's not in here with the bass drums like he was, but I still think that he did something that's history. And a lot of people are fucking talking shit about him.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that without Lars Ulrich, there would not be a Metallica in that league.
No way.
Even Hetfield admits that, you know. It was Lars and Hetfield, but without Lars spending so much time on being, Hetfield might be the leader on the scene, but behind everything, you have to admit that Lars is the businessman. He
Yeah, he's
took
also
the
the arranger, to your point. Like
he
those
took the
arrangements.
beating for Napster. He took the beating. He created what Metallica is. Without him, it's like Volbeat without Michael Paulson. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be someone taking this spot, and for me, he was my biggest influence and my biggest hero when I was younger. So I think he's a great example of what you can achieve, and I fucking love that he's still going strong.
Yeah. Metallica have just matured so it's in such a cool way. What you said too about the drumming thing, I want to revisit that because it made me think of, Lars really started double kick. Like he there might have been other people that did it before him, but he was the first person to really use it, I think, in like heavy metal or like one of the first anyway. And I would compare that to like what you said about how there's a lot of drummers now that are better than him, technically. I would compare that to like Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix, right? It's like Jimi Hendrix revolutionized guitar playing, and there wouldn't have been an Eddie Van Halen without Jimi Hendrix. But technically, Eddie Van Halen's a better player than Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
You know what I
but
mean?
it's the fucking same story about the Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Right.
Then the Japanese people perfected it, but it's not the same. But but I think that there's a lot of people talking so much shit about Lars, and then when he dies, like we've seen other drummers, then they will all be like, "Yeah, he
He
did
was
this,
the
that."
greatest.
Yeah, that's. I don't know how to say that, but come on, listen to. I was there when they released Justice, and I was also there with Puppets, and I had to go back, and I loved the Black Album, and then when Low came out, I was like, what the fuck.
Yeah, a
But
lot of people.
later I understood it, and I love the Load and Reload albums now,
Yeah.
and you can't take away that those guys are, in my opinion, and will always be for me the biggest metal band. I mean, I'm a Metallica fan, and I'm not afraid to admit that, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't think anyone should be. I just think it's cool the parallel that Lars is from Denmark
Yeah,
and
he
Metallica
is.
arguably the biggest metal band in the world. I mean, the only bands I would put above them in the metal world are maybe like Black Sabbath and
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
Maiden.
yeah. I hear you. For me,
Priest.
Metallica is the biggest, but I understand that those guys that came before, and maybe even Judas Priest,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you have to,
Give them the clout. They
yeah,
influence, just like we were saying with the drumming and with the Jimi Hendrix and Van Halen. It's like these guys. You could do it in sports too. Like Michael Jordan came before Kobe Bryant. It's like
yeah. And a lot of times you like, I have this insider joke saying there's always a new high school starting, that
yeah,
doesn't know the riff. Good Euro played that it was stolen from Morbid Angel,
yeah.
so whatever it is, if you take the Orion riff from Metallica, everybody did that riff, did it, did it. So you can,
Everyone. I just saw a thing on TikTok the other day where they were breaking down that riff in Master of Puppets.
yeah,
The one that goes
yeah, yeah.
and it's
What's it?
from
I know it was what's his name, David Bowie.
yeah. From
Yeah,
Man Who Sold the World. I went, whoa, I never even noticed. I've heard both those songs and
yeah, yeah.
that's the beauty of music though.
And I would happily admit that there's nothing new under the sun in Asinhell. We didn't invent anything new. We
It's
just
just great
took
music.
we just took what we like and love, and what we would have loved our heroes if Chuck was alive, and said, let's have some fun and do something where hopefully someone can put a smile on, especially like you and me, that, yeah, I was waiting for this album, something from back in the 90s that sounds like a little bit, sounds like that, but maybe a little bit polished to a modern sound. So
Yeah.
that's what we wanted, and when you hear the whole album, you will not be disappointed from what
No,
you heard.
like I said, I love the three songs that I did listen to thoroughly in the car, that I was able to actually really listen to a few times through. And so
Yeah,
I'll be happy when I can listen to the full album in my car.
I'm sure you will, because there's no there's actually, the whole album is with drums, bass, and distorted guitar and screaming vocals.
And
There's
vocals, and that's it. No
nothing,
keyboards.
no keyboard, no clean vocals, no chorus, no acoustic.
Love it. It's a
So
good raw metal record.
it is.
It's what the world needs right now.
I remember I said to Michael, "Hey man, it would be fucking cool to put some acoustic on here." He said, "No." Okay.
I love it. I love it. I mean, that makes it even better.
Yeah. So
Do you guys have any plans to do any dates out here in the States? Or are
I
you pretty
hope
much
so,
in
because I've never played live in the States, and next year, I think, as far as I know, we're gonna focus on Europe.
yeah.
Actually, it wasn't a plan to play live, but we have to do this because we got so much great response. And I
Mhm.
told Michael, yeah, but I would love to go to the States too. And he said, yeah, but maybe first, to, time wise, with what's going on with my job and my family and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Start with Europe, but I'm pretty sure we'll get to the States, because it's he said to me that he's doing a lot of interviews with people in the States, and the response is so really good.
I mean, just on Spotify, you guys already have like 60,000 listeners or something like that just from the 3 songs. I was just looking at the stats. So there's obviously people are wanting to hear more of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and
I understand
like
like
I told, even though you might be old school, I might be old school. There's always someone, even like Volbeat fans that didn't know who the fuck is Entombed or Bothro, or for them it's the new shit.
yeah.
And I will
It,
pretend like it is the new stuff.
yeah, I mean, it's the thing is we were talking about who carried the torch for metal into the 2000s, right? Because in the 90s, obviously there's Metallica, Pantera, Sepultura, Testament, Megadeth, and everything, and they're still
Mhm.
out there. But in the 2000s, I was trying to think of bands who I think kind of continue, and I was like, Lamb of God is one,
Mm,
um, Slipknot.
mm.
Um, but on the European front, like, are there other bands? Because there's so many bands, like Swedish bands, like At the Gates, for example. I think that kind of that are so influential to a band like Black Dahlia Murder, for example, but are kind of like not well known over here.
No, no.
Are there European bands from the 2000s on that you think kind of
I
carried?
think it's difficult for an American citizen to figure out, because there are so many European bands. There are so many bands, but at the end of the day, they were all influenced by an American band or whatever. I
It's kind of like a
I
back and forth.
cannot. I don't really know, but I love At the Gates, um, and I think for me, but the Slaughter of the Soul album is classic.
Yeah.
So for me, I was fucking happy to see when they came back, and I also watched them play live shows, and it was fucking awesome. Actually, a friend of mine is their sound engineer,
Okay.
and but there are so many bands doing this same shit, like just turn up everything on the nuts to turn on this heavy metal pedal, and I actually told Michael that I'm a huge Entomb fan, and I have all their albums. But when you put something on like Grave or whatever, it's like, who came first? It
Yeah.
sounds a little bit the same.
Yeah. I was joking. We talked to me and my cousin who run this Brutal Planet. Our grandfather's Swedish, so we're of Swedish descent, and we talked to a lot of Swedish bands. And I was joking the other day. I'm like, is it just like 80% of Sweden are just like in bands and they just like hang out in the fjords all year, and then tour America the rest of the year? Like, it seems like there's a lot. Like everyone in
Yeah,
Sweden's in a band. I swear we've talked
yeah,
to like
but
50.
it could be a joke, but you have to know that we live in Scandinavia. But in Sweden, they were born with like this, with fucking gold in their ass, because the society decided that music school is for free. So,
Yeah.
no matter where you came from or what you have, you can go to the music school for free, and I think that
Oh,
that's genius, because that's why their income in Sweden is high on music, because they teach kids music, and they have so many talents.
that's interesting.
It
So
is,
you're
if,
saying that the music colleges are free there?
they are, and if you look at the brutal national product, like
Mhm.
income from music, it's so high that this investment to give this teaching for free comes in, like, I don't know how many times, but this investment, it's an interesting thing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, Sweden is big, not even just in metal. When you like, do you know who Max Martin is?
Yeah, 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 of course.
Yeah, I mean, like, and then you have bands like ABBA and like The Knife, and there's all kinds of like not even metal bands that come out of Sweden. So, a very music driven culture.
There's no doubt about that Sweden are the leaders in Scandinavia when it comes to music. So some years ago, there was a lot of jokes when we saw all these, in the early 2000s, like late 90s, 2000. There was a joke that in like they were our neighbors. So okay, everything from Sweden is praised to like the new stuff. So we just have to move our address to Sweden. Like here's this new then it's automatically gonna become a success. That was something people talked about as a band in Denmark. But actually, after that, with my band, Raunchy, Nemec, Grope, Invocator, Conquer, other bands became something. So suddenly Denmark was on the map too.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like Lars Ulrich, probably the drummer of the biggest metal band ever, is from Denmark. So
Yeah,
he's got that. I read a thing a couple years ago too that Denmark's like basically what has like the best quality of life in the world, like something like that. Like happiest people are the most
yeah,
content or
yeah.
something.
I read that too.
Yeah, I think that's. I wonder how they measure that because I you could
I
probably get
think
this.
it's just about asking people that are happy, and you'll get you'll miss with that. You know, we have a lot of quality like the welfare system and stuff like that. But of course, if you're not a fan of that and there's nothing wrong with you, you also feel like you pay a lot of tax. So it's
Yeah.
who do you ask?
Yeah, it's true. I think here we pay a lot of taxes too, but seems like it mostly goes to bombing countries rather than helping other people. So, but I
Yeah.
live in California, and California is pretty good about that. We have a pretty good social safety net here. We
I
take
know,
it.
I know, I know. My mom's twin sister lived in Santa Barbara, and
Okay.
my great grandfather was living in Coronas, California.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so we,
Those are
I,
two way different parts too. Like Corona's like a very Hispanic, like kind of in the east, in the inland, and it's a lot hotter. Santa Barbara's like by the beach, where like all the rich, like kind of flowery people are.
yeah, yeah, but you know. On my mother's side, there was always a strong connection from Danish people that immigrated to the U.S. So uh, I'm kind of like a little bit American, I would say.
Yeah, there's actually what's the city called? I always forget. Solvang. Have you ever heard of Solvang?
Yes, yeah, I was there in '87
Okay,
as a child, and yeah. It's
so there's
totally
definitely a
like,
connection.
yeah, I would say that when you go to the Solvang, you feel like it's too overrated Danish. So, but
It's a tourist city. It's a tourist thing. It's like, hey, like
ah,
it's not real like
totally.
real Denmark, but
If you want to try the Danish stuff, come over here and give me a call, and I will show you.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
take you to Christiania. You can have all the wheat you want.
hell yeah. I'm on my
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
I need to get over to Europe. I haven't. I went to Austria actually in Germany several
yeah.
years ago, years and years ago, like a long
Oh, it's
time ago.
beautiful. The mountains, fucking
Yeah.
beautiful.
Austria was so cool. Europe is like back then. This was like right before 9/11, so it was like 23. It was like 20 years ago, like in 2000 when I
Yeah,
went over there. But I had such a great time, and I just love the European mentality. It was just like we're gonna shut everything down and like have some tea together and talk and have a bite. Like they shut the entire city
yeah,
down at lunchtime and just
yeah,
like
yeah. I,
I love
yeah.
it.
It's especially around France, Italy, Austria. They like they have this in Spain. They have this like if they get visitors, they're like, yeah, this was my plan for today, but I will show my guests that we don't have to stress about the work, you know.
Yeah. I think
I,
honestly,
with Hatesphere back in 2003, which was when you were there, I guess, we played in France, and we were traveling in a 9-person wagon with a trailer in the fucking winter time and nowhere to sleep. And we arrived somewhere in France, actually playing a gig in Colmar with fucking Gojira.
oh wow.
And back then, Russ Robinson, Slipknot, Korn, was
Mhm.
ready to sign Raunchy, my other band, but we were signed to a contract. And I called his management saying, I just watched this band, Gojira. Fuck, it was a mixture of Slayer, Morbid Angel, and Slipknot, and Tool, the first record. And I said, you have to check it out. And they never did. Shame on them. But next morning, after being in this friend's place, we slept in an apartment with like a punk rock place. People invited us to sleep there, and in the morning for breakfast, we got spaghetti bolognese with red wine at,
That's French.
at 9 a.m. You know, and
I love it.
when you're like don't have the vitamins, you're in a car, you sweat a lot, you drank a lot, you fucked the shit up. Back then, I just remember that this food and good wine, organic wine and stuff, it gave that power that you felt so welcome, you know.
Yeah. I had
Someone went up early in the morning to cook a fucking dinner for breakfast.
when I was in Austria, I remember drinking homemade schnapps with
Yeah, with
these people.
apple schnapps.
Yes, yes, and I've never been so drunk in my life, but no hangover.
Yeah,
Like
because it's pure organic.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
I was playing somewhere in Austria, and we went to the top of the mountain with this lift, and then we got the apple snaps, 55%,
oh my god, yeah.
but no hangovers.
None. I was so wrecked on that stuff, and I just remember waking up and going, "Holy crap! I feel normal. This is amazing."
It is. Hey, brother, it's a very good conversation.
Yeah, we've almost been an hour. Let's
Do you want to know more about Asinhell than it's now?
yeah,
I have
just let
a,
the album comes out the 29th, is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, tell us what the socials are, like anything else you want to say before we sign off, man.
Socials? What do you mean? Like
Or
medias?
whatever, like if you guys have a Facebook page or a website or anything you want people to
Yeah, there's
follow or
everything is run through Metal Blade. A
okay.
fucking amazing label. For me, it's an honor to be on Metal Blade. That's like a
Yeah,
dream come true.
legendary. Brian
Yeah,
Slagle,
they
God.
they they made a T-shirt for every song. They made 9 different vinyls, CDs, cassettes, everything. The staff members are so fucking cool. Uh, I'm so proud of being part of this. That you know, I know Michael is in the band. You sign a paper. I'm not expecting anything, but when I see people working old school ways with doing cassette and vinyl, I, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and the music is there, man. It's great. The music is great. That's what matters. So
Yeah,
when people hear the
and
full record,
one thing I want to say, like Asinhell, actually the solos, the lead guitars, Fleming. Uh, with Michael in the band, we could have gotten, like Gary Holt or someone. I told Michael, check out my brother Flemo. He's a very good guitarist. He lives 5 minutes away from the studio. He just did these solos, and he is, I think, a hidden treasure. And our producer Jacob, who produced everything, Volbeat, Raunchy, uh, very well-known producer. He just
Killed it.
fucking plowed in the bass. We asked him to do the bass. He never asked once, "Hey man, what are you playing here?" And they just did it, So you can hear that this album is a band of brothers doing it for fun and loaded with some talent, I think.
It's cool that the origin story is too. It started from a play date. Like the band came out of a play date.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, between you and me, whenever Michael talks about it, the only reason I'm in the band is because, yeah, Martin lives 12 minutes away from where I live, and our daughters are playing. Nothing like he's actually a pretty good drummer. It's just like,
Oh yeah, when he's in the
so,
press, he's like, "Yeah, he's my neighbor." Like,
yeah. So
well,
I think
your chops speak for themselves. To be fair, like you can listen to the songs and go, "Wow, I listened to it when this drummer is fucking incredible."
I would say, yeah, Michael came with the riff, but the songs and structures would not be like it is without me.
Sure,
I
big part of the
I
arrangement.
I love Michael. I'm not afraid to take the discussion and say, hey, this part it's enough, or it has to go here and there. So I think we're a great team.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what makes a band too. Like the chemistry between different people is what makes the music what it
Mm,
is. You know.
mm.
Well, thank you so much, Martin. I appreciate Morton. I appreciate your time. And you know what else? They when they sent me your name, they spelt your last name without the N. So on the card, I didn't put an N. So I'm going to change that too.
Ah, okay. Yeah, but that's not the first time.
Yeah. Well, it's an honest mistake. That's how they sent it to me. So just so you know,
Whatever.
we'll change that.
No, no
But I
problem.
appreciate your time, man. The album is fire. Everyone needs to check it out. September 29th, everywhere. Metal Blade Records, As in Hell. Morten Toft Hansen. Hey, come back through and talk again when you guys put out some
Yeah,
more stuff. Or
yeah,
hopefully, I'll get a chance to see you guys over here in the States, or maybe I'll get over to Europe. Who
yeah,
knows?
man. If you pull a barbecue with some beers, we'll see each other.
Let's do it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Likewise,
Take
it
care.
was a pleasure. Thank you
Take care of
for the
yourself.
talk. Take care of yourself.
All right. Well, that was it with Morton. Uh, I wasn't lying when I said they sent me they sent me his name without the N at the end. So I'm gonna update the cards on our site and everything to reflect that. But I really like everything he was saying there about the rawness of the record. And I'm a little I haven't listened to the whole record yet either. As I said, I wasn't gonna lie and pretend like I have. I got a streamer, but I just haven't listened. I listened to the 3 songs that are on Spotify the other night, and they are fire. Especially the one that they put out the video for. It's called "Follow the Loyal Warrior," but all 3 of those songs are incredible. So anyway, uh, the band again features Michael Poulsen from Volbeat. You just heard from Morten Toft Hansen, the drummer, and the album is As in Hell, and it's out September 29th. So check it out. Thanks for tuning in today, and keep it brutal.